Presidential Innovation Fellow with the White House. Patricia McClung, Senior Vice President of Data Analytics and Change at Truist Mortgage. Sue Quilty, Senior Vice President of Loan Operations from Residential Mortgage Services. And Drew Zachary, Managing Director at the Open Innovation Lab from the U.S. Census Bureau. So I just wanted to welcome them. We really appreciate their time and their efforts here today to assist us. And without any further discussion, I will just introduce our first team, and that's Team Rocket. So go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, David. How about that acting director kickoff? That's something we can all get behind. Good morning, everyone. And thank you to the Bureau. Thank you very much. You were amazing, smart, helpful, courteous, available, empowering, and all the good things, which made this a very enjoyable tech sprint. And thank you to our esteemed panel of experts. And because whoever picked our panel picked the pinnacle of experts here. It's an honor to present to you our findings from this week. So our team started this week with many ideas, and the Bureau either listened and put the ideas immediately into action as a process enhancement, or politely pointed out their fix for issues that they had already addressed, or explained the errors in our logic. So at the end, we really were whittled down to one concept, and this concept is the suggestion of moving the LAR submission process from a synchronous multi-layered audit process to an asynchronous audit process. Our working theories for this change are that it may increase filing likelihood for those lenders who get flustered clearing all the audits while at the same time performing submission, and also that the change has the potential to make way for a more efficient filing process for all submitters, and that we could make space for new audits and new modes of data quality management, consistent with what the acting director laid out in his vision for today. So here we see the current state of the HMDA LAR submission process. With a velvet rope approach to submission, where only data that passes audit makes it through to submission. So you can see in the gray screen, the data specified, then it goes through the validation audits which are multi-layered. It's not just one audit. And then that fact checking and error checking happens in real time with the submissions process. And really, this architecture is what a smart team would build when designing a system to optimize data quality. But what we've found in the sprint week is that this approach deserves a second look. It may be inadvertently causing issues with data quality and user experience across the spectrum of submitters. So during the sprint, we heard stories of day-gobbling submission processes bracketed by the firm submission deadline, where failure to meet the submission deadline is also considered the failure of an institution's compliance management system. One could envision lenders failing a number of audits and then trying what I called the fake it until you make it school of data integrity method, which we learned this week may be ending up in results like the 10 million interest rate that Jason Richardson at the NCRC pointed out in the Slack channel. Or it could just be simply inherent, given Harvard Business Review's statistic that on average, 47% of newly created data records have at least one critical error. So our solution for an asynchronous submission process has the added benefit of aligning with the existing statutory and regulatory requirements. The emphasis on data quality is already envisioned and empowered in the existing regulatory framework. So a modification in the workflow allows us to make even more progress on that laudable and important goal. In this slide, we see the redesigned process so that the edits are not bundled with submission. and are in a feedback loop post-submission. So you can see that here we have an iterative process. Computers love iterative processes. Unlike me, I don't think I've worked out all of the COVID pandemic. But because we're not tying the audit function to submission, and the feedback loop is asynchronous, we've given ourselves some more space and time for additional data quality checks that may now expand beyond the length of the current status bar approach. Because right now we're limited to the time of the status bar. We've bundled the audits with the submission, and we have the status bar capping what we can do with our data and capping what we can do with our process. So we also have space for other audits that have not really been conceptualized yet, like a collaboration with the Census Innovation Team. Thank you, Bureau, for inviting them or in their participation in the sprint. One could also even envision a data quality score being included in the lender feedback loop. In my experience with the Bureau believes that information for industry can be beneficial too for consumers. And so this type of feedback loop can further what I see as one of the CFPB's strengths in bundling consumer protection with feedback to the lender community. This redesign also has benefits for all HMDA data stakeholders because we all benefit from better data quality. Enhanced measuring of data quality with feedback loops is actually even one of the best practices for ensuring better data quality. So an asynchronous approach also allows us the flexibility to test different data quality management methodologies. One paper I read about data quality management methodologies, there's 13 currently in existence, and they all have a different approach. Maybe there's some type of testing we can do on that to learn which approach might be most beneficial in the HMDA context. So as we heard from the Bureau this week, we're hoping this sprint forms the basis for connections and discussions that progress beyond this presentation, and we welcome that dialogue. I, for one, am willing to donate, my time to anything that advances this goal. And I think working together, we can create the selection of steps, strategies, and techniques for reaching new data quality targets. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Chris, and Team Rocket. Now we're going to move on to question and answer session with the evaluation panelists. Let's see if I can find someone who has the first question.